Good evening, and you're very welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. On this Monday evening, it is all about the top of the table in the SSE Airtricity Premier Division, where where Derry City and Shamrock Rovers are both in action. Of course, the top two teams in the division, both having fixtures this evening. We will start with the game at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium, where Derry City were in action taking on St. Patrick's Athletic. Reporting is Rory Morrow.
Thanks, Diarmuid. Yes, Derry City were in action again tonight after Friday's 1-1 draw with Bohemians. They're looking to get back on track, although they can only manage a 0-0 with St. Patrick's at home at Brandywell. But it wasn't for a want of trying. Derry were dominant throughout. One of the changes they made, Daniel Lafferty, he had the first big chance, a header from a Will Patching corner that was just tipped over by visiting goalkeeper Joseph Amagi. St. Pat's were rarely getting out of their own half, to be honest. Jimmy McGonigal was a constant menace, although he wasn't clinical. He had an air shot after 11 minutes, and in this early on in the second half, he was causing problems again, flashing a shot wide and placing a header straight at the keeper. But he wasn't the only guilty one guilty of bad finishing. Patching and Kavanagh shot over from distance, and it was reflective of Derry's struggles to break St. Pat's down. They were restricted to mainly long-range strikes and blocks. They won a lot of corners, but couldn't really make the most of them. So they dominated possession, but didn't really have clear-cut chances. Second half was more of the same. Dominant possession. Cameron Dummigan, who had a very good game at centre-back, rounded off a good move. They were appealing for handball, but wasn't forthcoming. St. Pat's managed the game very well. They came into it obviously looking to avenge what was a poor performance and a 4-0 humbling at the hands of Derry themselves just last weekend. And they had a game plan and they executed it well, and Derry couldn't break through, and that result was damaging. They dropped to second now, dropped to second in the table now, ahead of a crunch game against Shamrock Rovers at the weekend, and 2 draws at home. They'll be disappointed, but full time at Brandywell, Derry 0, St. Pat's 0.
Perfect, Rory. Thank you for that report. As Rory said, we'll look at the action from Tallaght Stadium, where it was the battle of the two Rovers in Shamrock Rovers taking on Sligo Rovers. Watching the action for us was Jack Joy.
Yeah, Diarmuid, Shamrock Rovers 3, Sligo Rovers 1 at a wet and windy Tallaght Stadium this evening. Second half, Graham Burke hat-trick, bringing Shamrock Rovers all 3 points as Sligo really struggled to cope with Rovers attacking substitutes in the second half. A fairly dull affair in the first half, most likely due to the kind of wet and windy conditions, which only got worse as the night went on. Robbie McCourt had the first big chance of the game for Sligo. He bombed down the left, and his cross was aimed at Max Madden on the far right post for Sligo, but Sean Kavanagh, the Shamrock Rovers fullback, just got a leg to it to defend the ball out. Jack Byrne for Rovers was heavily marked all night by Colm Horgan for Sligo, but he still managed to pull some strings for Rovers, and he set up 2 great balls to Neil Farugi first and then Aaron Green minutes later, but both were denied by a fairly steady Sligo defence in the first half. Adam MacDonald then had another chance for Sligo from the left again. His cross to Jordan Hamilton was denied by Farugi at that far post again, and there wasn't really very much after that. I mean, MacDonald had a late shot in the first half, but he curled that well over, and that was about it. The sides went in 0-0 at half time. Stephen Bradley obviously opted to stay with Rovers during the week instead of heading to League One side Lincoln, and he made his impact on the game, I suppose, from a management perspective. At half time, he made 4 changes for Shamrock Rovers. He brought on Graham Burke, Rory Gaffney, Andy Lyons and Chris McCann in what you could only describe as some attacking changes, and they came out with far more pace, Rovers did, in the second half, and they looked far more attacking. They posed far more of a threat to Sligo, and the goals came pretty soon, within 10 minutes. Graham Burke had his first after Andy Lyons, another substitute, got the ball to Byrne in that number 10 position, and Byrne showed his class really with moving the ball to Burke on the right with a lot of pace, and Burke could put the ball into the net for Rovers' first goal of the game. Rory Gaffney then, another change for Rovers, and at half time he made his impact less than a minute later, he won the ball high up the field. His pace caused a lot of trouble for Sligo, and his pressure and pace won the ball back for Shamrock Rovers. He was able to win the ball on the right, and he got the ball to Burke on the left of the field, and Burke could strike home again for a second. That was 2 goals in 2 minutes for Graham Burke. 10 minutes later, I suppose there had been little chances in between, but 10 minutes later, Gaffney again putting pressure on Sligo, won the ball back. He got the ball back to Andy Lyons. Lyons was able to lay off the ball to Graham Burke in the perfect position, and Burke scored a fantastic strike from just outside the box with his left leg to make it 3-0. Rovers really controlled the game after that. They didn't really allow Sligo too much possession, although the visitors did kind of threaten late on, but no real clear chances apart from Aidan Keena, who powered home a consolation goal for them around 81 minutes. But that was as good as it got for the visitors, and it ended Shamrock Rovers 3, Sligo Rovers 1 at Tallaght Stadium, and Shamrock Rovers would be in good form now for their big meeting with Derry City at the weekend.
Perfect, Jack. Thank you, of course, for that report. And that will obviously conclude our action for this evening. Just the 2 games, both those games, of course, brought forward from European action later on in the year. We'll look at the results and the league tables, of course, from this evening. Derry City and St. Pat's playing out a scoreless draw at the Brandywell, while Shamrock Rovers were 3-1 winners against the Sligo Rovers this evening at Tallaght Stadium. All the goals coming from Graham Burke. That obviously sees Shamrock Rovers lead the league table by 1 point over Derry ahead of their much anticipated meeting at Tallaght on Friday evening. St. Patrick's Athletic managed to get a little bit of space with that point over Dundalk. They're now 2 points clear in 3rd place. We will look at the statistics as well from the league, starting with, of course, the top goal scorers. Jamie McGonigal continues to lead the league in goals. He has 9 to his name. No Derry City man getting on the score sheet this evening, but a hat-trick, of course, from Graham Burke sees him up to 7 for this season, while Aidan Keena managed to get his 5th goal of the season. And looking at the clean sheet statistics as well, Joseph Anang with 8 clean sheets to his name, getting one extra this evening, as did Brian Maher, who is up to 6. Now we'll look at the fixtures ahead, looking to Friday night. Friday the 13th might be unlucky for some. We'll see what happens, of course. Dundalk taking on Bohemians. Shamrock Rovers, of course, taking on Derry. Shelbourne taking on Drogheda. All those games, of course, 7:45, while Finn Harps and UCD kick off at 8 o'clock. And on Saturday, Sligo Rovers entertain St. Patrick's Athletic, of course, at 7:45 as well. In the first division, then looking toward that, Athlone Town, bottom of the table, Athlone host Longford. Treaty take on Bray Wanderers. Waterford will be in action against Cove Ramblers in a Munster derby down at the RSC, and Wexford entertain Galway United in, of course, another game at 7:45. In the Women's National League, DLR Waves take on Sligo Rovers on Saturday at 4 o'clock. Peamount take on Athlone. Cork take on Wexford, both those games at 5 o'clock. Bohemians take on Shells, and Galway take on Treaty United at 6. So that will conclude all our action, of course, for this evening. A very brief show, just the 2 games to report on, but of course we'll be back for Around the Grounds on Friday for both the Premier and the First Division, and of course the Women's National League on Saturday. You could join us Wednesday evening from 7 for all the podcasts as well. Plenty of action to discuss across the different sports covered on the Finalwhistle.ie website, where you will of course find all of tonight's match reports along with the league tables and statistics as well as that. Make sure to follow us on all our social media channels to stay updated, all the news breaking around the league as well, and all the action coming from the various fixtures as well. Been delighted to have the opportunity to chat to you all again this evening on Around the Grounds. Looking forward to it again on Friday night, but until next time, have a lovely rest of your Monday evening, and goodbye.